Tonight on the Let's Talk Live podcast, I have Tanya from Titanium Built in the
Hey
house.
guys. Hey, how
All
you
right.
doing tonight?
Yeah, we're going to talk Bryan Kohberger and Idaho 4. Stay with us. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Let's Talk Live podcast. And this is episode 16, and it is January 28th, 2023. And I feel like this year is literally flying by. What do you think, Tanya? It's crazy, right?
Yeah,
We're literally going into July 4th weekend. It's unbelievable.
And I feel like we haven't had a summer yet.
Yeah, right?
Where I'm from anyway. It's been like a lot of cloudiness from fog from Canada, and it's not warm, rain.
I know, it's crazy.
So we could redo summer. I could do that again. I
Yeah.
can't believe that we're almost into July. Like this
It's
week
July-
would have been like Bryan Kohberger's like arraignment week, or
Yep.
preliminary if we would have been.
Yeah, if we were there. Yeah, exactly. That's a really great point. I didn't even think about that. Like literally
just thought
on
that.
Monday would have been the prelim hearing. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's moving so quick, and like we're getting
Yeah.
closer to October. But I mean, I think that I don't think we're gonna have a trial in October. I think
I
it's
don't
gonna
think we
be
will
a little
either.
while.
I think it is too. Well, it
I think
seems like, I mean, I know that a lot of them were pushed back, because of COVID and stuff, but still, it seems like all these trials, they take like 2, 3, 4 years,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Just want to recognize this new member,
Oh,
new
look at that,
member, what we
Summer.
say over here. Summer has become a rookie detective. I'm just going to do that tonight because I've had some issues with my sounds lately, and I got to get that all like squared up. Oh, and by the way, you need to teach me Nightbot because I don't know
Oh,
anything
yeah.
about it.
Oh, yeah, no, I could do that. That's something I could teach you.
Yeah.
Summer
All
was
right.
like teaching me how to do it. That's
Yeah,
one of
I
my
have
mods, actually.
no idea how
I'm
to
glad
do
that
that.
she's a
So
member.
we want to
Oh, good.
welcome, we want to welcome everybody in, the fans of the channel and anybody that's crossed over this tonight from Titanium Built, Tanya channel. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We have a nice presentation this evening, just kind of like a recap, and then we're going to talk a little bit about maybe what the possibility of the defense strategy is. I know everybody gets on me and they're like, you always talk about what the state's going to do. Can we hear what the defense is going to do? So yeah, I think we can do that. Let me
I
just
think we
check in with a couple people. Kelly D says, Summer, Tanya, hi, Brian. Hello, how are you?
Aw.
We have Aquatil, hey all. I have my moderators in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. A lot of channel members, like all good stuff here. All good stuff. I love it. And
You have some good
but
mods.
we have great people, and you have great
Yeah.
people. And that's why I wanted to do these, these collabs with you, because I think we have a pretty good perspective and kind of the same mind in this case. We look at facts here. We don't put bullshit out there. And, we use the documents to base our theories off of and our opinions. So
Yeah, that's for sure.
yeah. So that's why I was like, we got to do, like, everybody's like, you got to go check out Tanya's channel. Like, you got to do something with her. So here we are.
This is exciting.
Super
Second
exciting. Whoa, we have Costa Rica in the house. Look at this. Costa Rica hanging out.
Ooh.
And Frenchie says, I love the collab with you too. Thank you so much. And again, Tanya and I, like, we're trying to just still gauge our
Yeah.
our on-air chemistry. Like,
We'll get
we've
there.
talked like one time offline.
Yeah.
We'll get there. But yeah, absolutely. So let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's get into the presentation, and then what my plan is maybe at the end of the show we can take some questions from the
That sounds
audience
good.
if you're cool with that.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let me bring up my screen. All right, so here we go. So again, I want to welcome in Tanya to the show. I appreciate you coming over here and hanging out with us. Anytime that you want me to come to your channel, you just let me know. Okay. I'm there to support you, and my people are here to support you. So.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I thought what we could do is just start out with our little disclaimer. We're not lawyers. We're not experts. We all base our opinions through legal documents and speculation. So let's go back. You want to go back, Tanya? We'll go back first.
Yeah, let's
give
go
everybody
back.
a little bit of a recap and a rewind. And feel free, like I said, jump in anytime you want.
Yeah.
Tell me to stop.
Yeah, this is like a recap over like the last week, right?
Right. So I want to keep everybody in reminder. So we came through in January, and I can't get the exact date down because I was talking to some of my moderators. And I'm like, I can't remember the exact date, but I know sometime in January we went under this gag order. So the gag order was in place 2023, and we had a hell of a week. If you love court battles, this was the week that was I think probably the most interesting and exciting week in this case.
It was.
So on the 16th, we had the prosecution that came out and basically filed state's motion for protective order in the discovery of the DNA evidence. And this is where we found how they discovered the DNA evidence of linking Bryan Kohberger to that knife sheath. And there was tons of conversation on YouTube when that document hit. I know you did a lot of
it was exciting.
Yeah, I know you did a lot of material on it. I was checking out your stuff. We did stuff over here, just all good stuff. Then on the 22nd, about a week later, and I found this very interesting, that the defense filed a declaration for Bicker Barlow, and everybody's asking, like, who is Bicker Barlow? Bicker Barlow is a DNA expert, and she was hired for the support of defense in the motion to compel discovery. And we're going to talk about compel discovery a little bit later here. And then on the 22nd, the defense comes back and files an objections to the state's protective order and rejects the DNA findings by the state. So you have the state come out. They're like, boom, this is how we get the DNA evidence. This is all pointing towards Kohberger. And then all of a sudden, the defense comes out and they go, yeah, well, no, it's not Bryan Kohberger.
Yeah, we're just gonna have our own expert come on.
Yeah, right.
And we're gonna pay them. Yeah, I just hate experts now. Ever since Letitia Stout trial, I'll probably like them again once the trial starts, but I'm still burnt out from their experts on theirs. And not just because it was a defense expert, it's just because it was an expert in general. And they weren't a very good expert in their field. I'm still scarred.
Still scarred from the So then you have let's see. Then you have the defense files a motion to compel discovery hearing, which I found very interesting. So that's, again, talking about that DNA evidence, talking about things that they want in this case that they're saying that they're not getting in this case. Then on the 23rd, and this all happened like that week, the 23rd, the gag order loosens. And then we have the state, a couple of days later, they file a motion to seek. Then the state comes back. They say, okay, here's our DNA evidence. The defense hires a DNA expert. I'm like stacking the Jenga here. Yeah. Then you have the defense comes back and says, yeah, all your discovery in DNA is a bunch of bullshit. And then the prosecution comes back and they file a motion to seek the death penalty. So the way that I looked at it was, when I started looking through the court documents, and maybe you agree or disagree, was we know that they weren't able to talk about this. We know that things have loosened a little bit, but I almost feel the sense of they were filing these documents knowing that the public could go to the website and read through these documents. And it basically was like cleaning up the image of Bryan Kohberger in the media,
I think
or
so.
yeah,
100%. So do you
100%.
think, so is that why because the judge addressed the gag order with the
Mhm.
attorneys? Is that why he
Right.
had addressed it? Because he said
Uh,
something about they weren't doing it right. Like, and I remember that I just didn't think, I thought, for some reason I was thinking Shannon Gray. Because,
yeah,
like, I was like, what do you do now?
essentially what happened from what I understand was that they were kind of loosening the fact that I think the families now are able to talk about what's
Hmm.
going on. I don't know if they will. It's probably smart
Yeah.
if they didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if, because now we're getting closer to trial date in
Yeah. Keep it to
October.
yourself, Steve.
Right. Uh, and
We love
uh,
you.
yes, I love the Gonzalez's.
We love you. That's why we want you to stick it to your, like, just keep it.
And then I think what is I kind of lost my train of thought here. So yeah, I think they loosened it up for the families a little bit, but he set some precedents in the court and some boundaries. Like, look, if the media is going to focus their camera completely on Kohberger the whole time, I'm just going to shut the shit down, because you're not creating a fair trial. It could be consumed as being biased.
Yeah.
And I know where I stand in this case. I have a
Mm-hmm.
general good idea of where you stand.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I want Kohberger to get a fair trial. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because we want justice in this case. And, as it sits right now, and I've always said this, Bryan Kohberger is innocent until
Yeah.
proven guilty.
Until proven guilty. Yeah.
And, we want a fair trial. And then if it's not Bryan Kohberger, then we still have a hell of a lot of
Then
work
we
to
are
find out who did
screwed.
this.
Because,
Yeah.
like, someone's running around out there that unalived 4 people, but they
Right.
haven't committed another crime since, or I don't know. It's just, I mean, if he didn't do, okay, so if Bryan Kohberger, because, like, I just keep thinking about his, like, schooling and stuff. If
Hmm.
he messed up with that little slip of the sheaf, which is totally plausible, because when you're
Sure.
in the actual, you know, doing it, it's different than, now I lost my train of thought. But
It's okay.
what was I saying about Brian? Um,
Take your time.
I don't know. I'll think of it here in a
It'll come
minute.
back to you.
It'll come back to me. It was something about Brian, though. I mean, it's all about Brian tonight, but
Absolutely.
I'll think of it here in a
So
minute.
so then we move back to the 27th. The defense files motion compel hearing, and we had that hearing the other day. It's where we got a new video. We got the arguments from Ann Taylor, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So let's go back to the timeline a little bit. So I just want to give a little bit more context to the timeline and just kind of break it down a little more. So I'm going to timeline this out. I kind of used this presentation the other night. I took some things out, but just some basic review for people if they're kind of lost and not caught up, like, where are we at in this?
Yeah.
If you look in the presentation, I have a P when I'm talking about the prosecution, or a D when I'm talking about the defense, and that should help everybody out. So on the 16th, the prosecution filed their state motion protective order. And basically in that, it says the comparison shown a statistical match specifically to the STR profile that is at least 5.37 octillion times more likely to be seen if the defendant is the source than if it's an unrelated individual randomly selected from the general population is the source. And I remember I talked about an octillion.
Mm-hmm.
1
Yeah.
octillion is the distance between Jupiter and the sun.
I laughed so hard when you said that the other night. Vincent was like, "What are you laughing about?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"That was good." I was like, "That was gold."
5 times over that this is Kohberger's DNA. So the state is
And that's what I was
believing.
saying too. That's what I was gonna say. I was just gonna say, like, so if Kohberger, this PhD student, that's criminology student, like, everyone's like, he's super smart, if he left a sheath there, then you would think the average Joe would, if they went in and did this, they would leave a whole bunch more DNA, so I could see it being, plausible that it was Bryan Kohberger and it was just the sheath.
Absolutely. Let me just recognize this new member. So Donna G
That's
has
so
become a new
nice.
member. Thank you so much. And then we just got another super chat here.
Oh, that's
Brenda
nice.
Birkenbach. I love that, Birkenbach. She just gave me a $5 super sticker. I appreciate that so much. And thank you. I appreciate you. So we'll move on here through the timeline. And Tanya, if you need me to stop, just tell me to
Oh, yeah,
stop
no,
if you
you're
want
fine.
to elaborate on anything. So the defense comes back on the 22nd, and they file for a notice of file declaration of Bicker Barlow in support of the defendant's third motion to compel, and that's motion to compel is the discovery of evidence. They want to talk about the evidence. So I found this interesting. Jennifer Coffindaffer, everybody's single favorite person.
Hey, I do write her sometimes. She'll answer you if you need
Yeah.
if you have a question. She's answered me before, so I'm like, I mean,
I don't mind her. She tweets back at me when I ask her
yeah.
things as well too. So give it up to them. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
Jennifer Coffindaffer says the defense team has hired Bicker Barlow as a DNA forensic legal expert. The price tag will be up to $650 per hour, but her credentials are impressive. See below. BK's team is certainly loaded with the best experts money can buy. I'm still amazed that BK's team is affordable taxpayer dollars to hire not one, but two media experts just to weigh in on whether cameras should or shouldn't be allowed in the courtroom and whether the gag order would stay in place. And obviously we know what happened on the 27th. It would seem their experts had a little sway on Judge. And this is the credentials here of Bicker Barlow. She started back at the University of California, Berkeley, Cornell, and then eventually on to San Francisco Law School. So very, very good credentials.
Yeah, and she's older, so she's got she's got a lot of experience.
Tons of experience.
Shit. Like, because she graduated in 95.
Right.
It looks like. So, wow. Like from college. Wow. She's been doing this for a minute. $650?
50 an hour. It's crazy.
So how, I wonder, okay, this is my question, because this is a good question. How much, I wonder like, how much did they give each defendant? If it's a death row, I know that you get like, if it's a DP case, of course, you're going to get more money allotted to you, I guess. But when do they say, no, like, that's enough money? Because $650 an hour is expensive.
I thought I heard a rumor that the prosecution got $1 million to try this case.
They're probably going to need like 3.
Correct me in the chat. I think I heard a rumor, but I'm not sure what the defense gets. I know I'm not, but I know the taxpayers of Idaho are paying for that. Yeah,
so that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Because they just did Lori Vallow's trial. Sure, I think it was like 3 or 4 million they spent on that trial.
It's crazy.
So I think they're going to spend more than that. They're going to need to get an IOU, a couple IOUs signed off.
Idaho is going to have no money after this case.
Yeah.
So then on the 22nd, the defense files objection to state's motion for the protective order, rejects the state's DNA evidence, and we know that what they came back with and just basically said, I'm going to use an old term here. Your case is hogwash. Essentially, was what they said.
Yeah.
I don't know why I wanted that, but I did.
Yeah, hogwash.
Sounds funny. Okay, so we'll move on here. Defense comes back on the 23rd, and that is the motion to compel hearing. So they want to have another evidence hearing. That's the one that we just saw on the 27th. So this now takes you up to yesterday. Everybody's laughing about hogwash. Summer saying
hogwash. The prosecution had 120 plus experts working against Kohberger. Wow. I was reading one of the. I was like, I was trying. Don't tell me to do math.
Yeah.
I'm like, not on the spot.
Don't do that to me.
Don't do that to me.
Prosecution had 120 plus experts working in the Kohberger case at that amount. Wow. That's crazy. All right, so
but if you think about it, they have to get the evidence, find the evidence, put the evidence in the computers, do all that kind of stuff, look at it, digitalize it, and it's probably a lot of work. I can only imagine how much work.
So then on the 23rd, before we had the hearing on the 27th, Judge, which I love that name, Judge loosens the gag order in Idaho murder case against Bryan Kohberger. And I have to say this, and maybe you'll agree with me, Tanya, I think so far that the judge has been extremely fair to both sides of this case.
100%.
Extremely fair and very reasonable.
Yeah, very.
And I haven't had any complaints. What I've seen of him, he seems very mild-mannered in this.
Very mild-mannered, yeah. I agree.
And I think that he's going to take it extremely serious as this case builds and gets to trial. I kind of like the way that he's been handling. He has control of the courtroom so far, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
There hasn't been any major outbursts or arguments, which have been
No.
really good. And he's been extremely fair.
Yeah, he
Even
has.
just, we heard a lot from the defense yesterday, and he was very fair to Ann Taylor to listen to her concerns and her emotions.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even to tell the state like she's got like some valid points going on over here, like
yeah,
I was telling people in my chat earlier, he reminds me of the dad from Step by Step, the old show on the like TGI Fridays. And then
sure.
someone was like, he looks kind of like the dad from Boy Meets World. And I'm like, he does kind of look like him too. I think it's the curly hair or something in the eyes.
So there
But he
used to
looks
be
like that kind of guy. Like,
Yeah, there used to be a show way back in the day, and probably I'm old, so before your time. There used to be a show called Night Court, and he looks
yeah,
like the judge on Night Court. You gotta look that up sometimes.
I've
Not
heard of
the
Night
up,
Court, but I don't know if I've seen it.
yeah, not the updated version of Night Court, because I think they're
Hmm.
redoing it again. But go back and look at the ones from like the 80s and the 90s. He looks just
It
like
looks
him.
like him.
Yeah,
I like that his name's John too, like Judge
John
John
Judge.
Judge.
Yeah,
There's two
Judge
J's.
John Judge. That's totally a movie name. So on the 27th, we have our defense motion to compel hearing, and that was Ann Taylor's um, concerns about evidence. We
Hmm.
heard a lot about that. And during the hearing, Ann Taylor argues for records of the interviewing officers and other discoverable materials. And you have the prosecution, they come back and say, look, we're being reasonable here.
Yep.
We've given them the evidence back in May. They have approximately 10,000 pages and reports of written materials. They have approximately 10,200 photographs, approximately 9,200 tips, the 51 terabytes that everybody talks about of the audio and video, and various other things that they've handed over.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is that there was some lab reports that they're waiting on from
Hmm.
ISP. And Judge is like, well, when are you going to get it? And we're like, I don't know. There's no timeline. So he had to be fair to the defense, set a
Hmm.
timeline and say, look, we need this by July 14th, which is fair.
Yeah.
And if we need to, go back and, talk about this, which I thought was really
Hmm.
fair too. He said,
Yeah.
we'll go back to it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think she just wants it on like documented. It's almost like I think it's kind of like for the prosecution, Bill's probably been doing this for a long time. He looks like he's been doing this for a long time. So it's probably like kind of like pesky in a way, like doing that, like being so formal and having like the judge come in when was like, "Well, I said it's cool, you said it was cool in the documents." Like I think that she's doing it all right though. I think getting having him sign on all the lines and
Mhm.
having him just be involved in everything is a good idea. So
Absolutely.
I like the hearings.
Yeah.
Gets
I
us
do
through
too.
the trial.
It gives us a little bit more of an insight of what's going
Some
on,
clarity.
some
I just
clarity.
if they could just figure out, I mean, and give us like the 911 call deal, not the call itself, but like an explanation in the
Sure.
8 hour, that whole explanation. If they could just give us a fuller timeline,
That's what we all want.
I think we'd be cool because then we could shut down some other stuff.
Well,
But it's like they
speaking of shut
can't.
down other stuff, and I'm so glad you said that. So, what I really focused on here, and this has been a huge topic across
Mhm.
YouTube platform, is that the state is hiding evidence. Well,
Oh
guess
yeah.
what? Ann Taylor herself, yesterday
Mm-hmm.
during that hearing, said, "Your Honor, I do believe and I know that the state is not hiding anything from
Yep.
us. It's
She said
just
it.
their
Mm-hmm.
timeliness of getting it to us."
Yep.
So, all you creators and all these people, these
Mm-hmm.
wackaloons that in the chats that say, the state
They've
is
been hiding
hiding
stuff.
stuff,
Yeah.
guess what? Because you even had the defense and Taylor look at the judge and say,
Yep.
no, they're not. So
Yep.
stop with that crap.
I know I had people here. I heard people going after like Bill today, and I'm like,
Yeah.
leave Bill alone. I mean, he's doing his job too. Like, just because he didn't stand there for 40 minutes. I mean, which I don't know why the one lady didn't stand up. She's like, can I sit back down? It's kind of like the state. I was like, but maybe, but in her defense, I was thinking maybe she's got vision problems like me, and she needed to look at her notes better, because
Mhm.
that's what I would be like. can I bring my notes to my face? But I thought that was kind of funny because we watched that today on my live,
Yep.
and I was like, is this all of it? Because
Hmm.
Anne, the whole time, it's like Anne talks, and then he's a man of few words, that judge.
Yep.
Except for when he's against Shannon Gray. Them
Yes.
two, I don't know if they know each other from like Office or if they just have that kind of banter, but it almost seemed playful at times. Like it was like they were going at each other, but then they would like the judge would just come like, or like make it kind of like emotion and seem like maybe they
Right.
knew each other. So
But I
we'll
just
have to see
wanted
how
to
that
put the
plays out.
kibosh on that because it's
Yeah,
getting annoying out there. There's been a lot of misdirection, a lot of misinformation about
yeah.
that the state is hiding evidence and they're not giving it to defense. Well, it's all bullshit because
No
she
one's
said it.
going to put someone on, give them a DP. No attorney's going to no attorney's going to take a case first off if if they can't win it. If they don't think for like 100% that they can win this case, they usually don't take them. They just don't. And then he's not going to smack a DP on this side of that and say, let's go to trial. If he's not, I feel like, in my opinion, if he's not sure of something,
Dude,
it
they
may not be something we know.
they got a lot because there's no way, like you said, there's no way that someone's just going to slap a DP on someone if they don't have the goods on them.
Yeah.
So we were speculating last night, and this is purely speculation in my chat.
Mhm.
Maybe there is video of him out there going in and
I
out of the
think
house.
that,
There's probably a million ring cameras around there. Um,
well, they did say in the documents that it caught a white sedan later
right,
identified as an Elantra on that camera
right,
beside their house. So I'm thinking they caught him on camera. They might not have got him, like his
sure,
face or something per se, but I
right.
think they definitely got the car. So
Another thing that I think is a possibility, and we kind of threw this around. There's been some speculation of Xana. Well, they said in the affidavit that Xana was believed to be on TikTok. Now, I
hmm
kind of learned a little bit more about TikTok. I don't use the platform,
I
but
don't either
what I'm
really.
learning a little bit more about it is that, let's say she, and believe me, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not,
hmm
because I know now in the comments,
Don't
we
come
were
for
talking.
us.
Could it be a possibility that maybe she was getting ready to do a TikTok video, or she hit the record button and it recorded something, maybe a piece of the attack or something, and
Oh,
it saved in her draft because they've downloaded the phones.
yeah,
They've downloaded all the phones. So we don't know. Maybe they have.
yeah,
Everybody has a camera in their hand. Everybody has a phone
yeah.
in their hand now. Anywhere they go, maybe they hit the record button or a video button or something, or took a picture. I don't
Well, I
know.
mean, we have the Delphi case right now with Abby and Libby.
Yep.
They just unsealed the rest of the documents. I've been going through documents all day. I
Sure.
mean, she took her camera out and was on a bit high bridge, a bridge I would never go on. I mean, I'm going to go on it now that they redid it. I'm
Yeah.
so scared of the bridge still, but she took it. I mean, she had enough nerve, like enough gall. I don't know. She was so brave to turn around and take a picture of him
Yeah.
as he's
Yeah.
walking towards her. Like I could never do that as like an adult, like I don't even take like selfies in public normally. I always feel like people are looking at me. So for them to do that, so that's plausible. I hope
Sure.
so.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we like again. It's just things that
Or
we think
something
about,
recorded, like a phone
right?
recorded.
A
They were,
voice, something.
yeah,
I don't.
something like they were all on their phones at one point throughout the night.
Right.
Maybe they were sleeping, but their phone was still on. It could have recorded something.
Yep. Mary says, "Wow, what a great idea there for a possibility." OCD said that would be great. And then Giovanna is saying, "Great point." And
Yeah.
then Webb is saying, "I wonder" as well. So I mean, it is a possibility.
Yeah.
Anything's a possibility in this case right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll move on here.
Bryan Kohberger was back in a Latah County courtroom this afternoon.
So basically what this is just a little bit of a summary, about a 5-minute summary. And this was taken from KTVB TV, and it will give you a little bit of the summary of what happened during during yesterday's hearing. Just let me know if you can hear the audio or not. You can hear it, right?
Bryan Kohberger was back in a Latah County courtroom this afternoon where a judge heard arguments from his defense and the prosecution over several issues. Kohberger is the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students in a home just off campus in November of last year. And just yesterday, the prosecution filed their intent to seek the death penalty if a jury finds Kohberger guilty. That's not the only issue that came up, though. News Channel 7's Morgan Romero was in court in Moscow this afternoon. And what did happen?
What was the
Well, Doug,
question?
they were originally
I'm
supposed to
sorry.
address several issues, but today
What's that?
I thought you asked me a question.
No.
It was something in the earphones.
I got you. All right, we'll keep playing through here.
This hearing was a lot quicker than we expected, ended a lot sooner than we had anticipated, and there was quite a bit of confusion in the courtroom. They only took up one of the 4 issues that were on the calendar, 2 motions to compel discovery filed on behalf of the defense rather than all the other issues. So the attorneys, I'm told, are working on these other things behind the scenes, and those include a motion to release grand jury proceedings, transcripts, records, materials, as well as a motion to stay or pause proceedings. A spokesperson with the Idaho Judicial Branch says it's not unusual for attorneys to work on this behind closed doors and do this.
It's odd that you said that, because I remember an interview. I don't think it was the Gonzalez family. It might have been with Ethan's parents. There was a girl, a reporter they sent out. She looked identically to Kaylee. You're on mute.
Well, good thing I didn't say that here anyway. But no, but I think it's the same girl. That's what I was thinking. I think it's the same one. She looks
Really
just
odd.
like her, because the one she had a turtleneck or something on. It was winter, and she
Yes.
really looked like her.
Really looked like her. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd.
Sort of thing. But the prosecution and the defense do disagree about whether or when certain records should be disclosed to the defense. Attorneys were also supposed to take up a 3rd motion to compel discovery. I mentioned they talked about 2 motions to compel. There is a 3rd, and that has to do with the
I said the other day, he looks a little bit tired when he was walking in. He looks a
Oh,
little.
he looks exhausted. But why are they all smiling? Like, except for him. I mean, they're all like cheesing, like they just, pick the great, like they just, I don't know, like they won the lottery. Like they're the one, like they just got something told to them that we don't know.
Yeah, I
But we're
think it's just body language of confidence to build that like we got this under control, but I think secretly, I don't know, they might be in a little panic here. But
yeah, well, Anne
hey,
changed
you
up her
never know.
whole look. So.
Yeah, she did. Yep.
Mhm.
Everybody's like, her hair looks so good. Her hair looks
She
so
got some
good.
more hair put in. That's what it is.
Yeah.
the defense wanting documents related to DNA and the genetic genealogy
You look like you put a
investigation
little
that the
weight on,
FBI
too.
did that led them to Kohberger. But yesterday, the state asked for more
His
time
hair's
to
longer.
respond to that ask,
Yeah.
and the judge granted it. As for what was brought up in court today, the defense wants training records of officers who did interviews with key witnesses, followed up on tips, collected bits of evidence. But the state says it's out of scope under Idaho rules, and they won't call those officers to testify at trial. They say it's not material to their case. The judge says he'll consider arguments from both sides on this. He'll look at case law.
So let me just do this. VV, so Tanya and Bryan, your thoughts on how reliable the defense lack of DNA in the car is? Would they have that discovery now? So let's do this. We're going to do questions at the end of this presentation. So hold your questions. I promise. And Tanya said, yeah, let's take some questions at the end. So we'll do that at the end. If you all want to throw some questions at us, we can try to answer them the best we can. But I just wanted to give this recap, and then just kind of, again, we're going to get after this recap of what I possibly think the defense may use in some of their tactics to kind of beat up against the state. So, yeah, we'll keep playing through this here. But
and
yeah,
then make a decision.
Great question.
Kohberger's defense attorney, Ann Taylor, is still asking prosecutors for investigative reports and conclusions from all cell phone analysis that was done by the FBI CAST team to find the location of Kohberger's phone. That information, as we've previously reported, was used in the probable cause affidavit to arrest Kohberger and get several search warrants. Taylor also wants reports from the FBI forensic examiner related to the change in the year of the white Hyundai Elantra that they were looking for in their search for the suspect. She said prosecutors told her they'll give her some of that info, but they don't know when, so she asked the court to set a deadline.
And as the court is aware, the state has filed its notice of intent to seek death against Mr. Kohberger. These are critical, relevant materials, all of them, including the police training records. They're necessary for us to prepare and present our defense of Mr. Kohberger. They're necessary for us to do our investigation. They're necessary for us to prepare our case and our motion practice moving forward. These are things that we need to have. There is a heightened standard now that the state has filed its notice of intent to seek death, and these are very relevant, critical bits of information. They are discoverable, and we're asking the court to order that they be supplied to us.
So Ms. Taylor's correct. She has everything that the state has in our possession.
Poll at the
And
top.
we work diligently and consistently in getting her all the information that we have in a quick fashion. To date, we have discovered approximately about 13,000 pages of reports, 13,000 photographs, over 10,000 tips and over 51 terabytes of audio video information.
Yeah, a lot of evidence, the defense saying that they don't believe the prosecution is withholding this information. They believe they are providing it as soon as they can. But the judge did set a July 14th deadline for the federal government to provide all of that information. There might not be hearings on those other issues we talked about, the motion to release the grand jury transcripts and records, as well as that motion to stay proceedings, if attorneys can resolve all of these matters, again, as I mentioned, behind closed doors rather than out in a public courtroom setting, Doug.
And you mentioned also that that is not uncommon to do it that way, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Nate Popino, he's the spokesperson for the Idaho Judicial Branch. I asked him that question. He said it's not necessarily uncommon. Attorneys do this all the time. And it was something that actually going into today's hearing, after I'd reported that I thought it was going to take several hours, was told by some people who are really in the know that they've seen over the last 20 years that happen often in cases like this.
Yep, less than an hour today. Morgan, thank you so much for your reporting today from Moscow.
All right. So before we get into the next section of slides, we have 133 people watching the stream right now,
That's
and we're at
awesome.
94 likes. If we can get to 100 likes, I'm going to gift out a few memberships. So let's go down there. Any of you that haven't smashed that like button, let's get it up to 100 likes, and I'll gift out some memberships, and that will get you into my members only content, which I do a video at least once a week to give you an update of like what's happening on the channel, some thoughts that are going on, and maybe some presentations that I may be having. So we're at 98.
Awesome.
We get to 100 likes. We're going to start gifting some memberships out. Nice. We got to 101.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you so
that was
much.
quick. Man, y'all
That
are
was
quick over
awesome.
here.
It's awesome. Good stuff.
They're so good about it. They really are. Like I looked down on my live, I think it was today, and I was like, what? I was like, I didn't even have to ask you guys. I think I asked them like once, and I was like so surprised. Or maybe it was today I was surprised, but I think it might have been last night too. And I couldn't gift out memberships because everyone was a member. I was like, I think everyone's a member right now.
So I'm going to give out 5. I'm feeling generous this
Oh, that's
evening.
so nice.
So we're going to give out 5. Welcome all the new members to the chat. I'm using my old school bell tonight because my
I know. I
sound's been all messed up. But anyway, we'll move along. Welcome
like the
everybody.
bell. Oh, look, I got gifted a membership. Well, look
What's
at
that?
that. I got a gifted a membership. So I got a gift for being here. I'll take
Awesome.
it. Thank
Well,
you. That
do
was so
this.
nice.
Let's give you a wrench too, since for hanging out.
Thank you.
Give Tanya a wrench.
Well,
All right.
I'm pretty good at being a mod. I don't think I'm a mod anywhere else but my own channel.
You're great at being,
And Nightbot.
you're good at being a panel guest too. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Not a problem.
All right, let's move on here. So everybody goes, why do you always sit here and take time for the state? I said, all right, well, let's come back this evening and say
Yeah,
maybe
let's see.
we can, come up with some possible defense strategy as what's going on. So I found it, and Tanya found this to be very interesting as well when we were talking in the green room before we went live, was during the motion to compel hearing, which was yesterday, why was Ann Taylor pushing so hard for the officers and ISP officers training records? And what I came up with, which I call my O.J. Simpson defense. Now, this case to me, there's so much stuff that reminds me of, the O.J. Simpson trial. A lot of the things that have gone on, obviously, the murders happened with a knife. There were multiple people that were, their lives were taken, and there was a lot of, you had, and I'm not even comparing Bryan Kohberger's team to the Dream Team, but
Oh gosh.
O.J.
Yeah.
Simpson's, I don't think you could ever put that together again. But
Yeah.
I kind of reference to that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're looking good so far for being paid by the state. They're looking real
Right.
good.
So what I did, and I highlighted here, if you can see the pink highlighter. So from this article, it talks about things that the defense team used to defend Simpson. And I'll read this. Let me just get to this super chat really quick. I think they're going to try it. So,
I know.
$5 super chat. What they're trying to do. Hey, let me see if it works. Hang on. I don't think it's going to work. My sounds have been really messed up lately. It's probably going to be. That was from an interrogation. It's from Steven,
Yeah.
and I forget his last name. It was a case down in Florida,
Was
and
it the one where he killed the girl that he went to university with, and he
yeah,
lived near? Yeah,
yeah,
the curly
yeah,
hair. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. So,
What was his last name? Was it Smith or something? Wasn't it something like that? Like just like something real easy? I thought. I don't
no,
remember, but I remember his name was. I remember Steven. Yeah.
McDaniels
McDaniel's. Yeah.
came to my old brain and jumped in there. AC, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you, man.
That's so nice.
He's like my therapist when I talk to him. He's my moderator and my therapist. He's a very wise man, very educated.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah, we'll go back here and look. So I'm going to read from this. The Simpson defense was based largely on the grounds that evidence had been mishandled and that members of the Los Angeles Police Department were racist, particularly Mark Furman. And I remember when they got Furman on the stand, they basically beat him down to a pulp and found out all this alleged racist, conversations that he was involved in.
Yeah.
A detective who allegedly found the bloody leather glove at Simpson's home. The defense team argued that the glove could not have been Simpson's because it appeared too small for his hand when he tried it on in the courtroom. In addition to the glove, the defense claimed that other important evidence had been planted by the police to frame Simpson. And I went, maybe. This is why Ann Taylor wants these records of these officers to see what was their training, what were their specialties, how long were they trained for in evidence collection or interrogation, to poke holes in these officers' stories. And maybe, and I'm just speculating here, maybe in a previous case, they handled something the wrong way.
Yeah.
Well, we'll move on. So then remember Brady-Giglio. That was in March. And people are probably going, what is Brady-Giglio? Well, that is some evidence of a previous case that involved officers. And officers in a previous case and officers in the King Road, in the Idaho 4 case. So as we move on, I'm sure that everybody is familiar with they call it the Stickergate or Soviet Moscow Stickergate. I'm not going to get too crazy into it. It would be a long stream to get into. But if you look, two of the responding officers in that incident was Gunderson and Nunez. Mitchell Nunez Mitch Nunez to the left, Sergeant Gunderson to the right. And I believe his first name is Shane. I could be wrong.
I think that's what it is too.
Yeah. So then we find out. Yeah, then we find out on March 29th, prosecutors disclosed internal affairs investigations of officers involved in the Idaho College murder case. Latah County prosecutors have disclosed an internal affairs investigation of an officer involved in the case of a man accused of killing the 4 Idaho students, according to the documents filed on Monday. The investigation was disclosed as a potential Brady-Giglio material, the court's finding. And then I found this article that said, Idaho keeps a statewide record database for police, corrections, and law officers who have decertified under Brady-Giglio rulings, maintained by the Idaho Peace Officers Standing and Training Division. These infractions can range from lying, code of ethics violations, improper relations, and misdemeanor or felony convictions. And then it says in 2015, et cetera, et cetera. So I think what they're looking at is to try to poke some holes in these two officers, because they were the two officers, I believe, that were the two first on scene. And I looked this up, and this was from the I think it was Bloom. Is it Bloom? His last name Bloom. Howard Bloom. Yeah. So in his article, he states that Shane Gunderson was among the first at scene after the 911 call came in. It was 11:58 a.m. on Sunday, November 13, 2022, when the notification of an unconscious person at the residence of 112 King Road, Moscow, was passed on to Sergeant Shane Gunderson. Gunderson on that day was midway through a 12-hour shift and had started at 6 a.m. and was running the operations division at the sparkling modernistic, and it had opened barely 11 months earlier Southview Avenue Police Headquarters. And then Nunez was there as well. And Nunez in 2021 was recently selected as a field training officer and passed his skills on as new officer. So maybe, what do you think, Tanya? They're going to try to use to probably poke some holes in.
That's probably what they're going to do. Probably they're training. They could have. And they could have had like some sort of relationship, like in work relationship, whatever they're called, to where internal affairs was called. It could be something small like that.
Yeah.
Just, if they pick it apart, they're gonna. And they did say that these were officers that were on scene, I think she said, or officers that had interviewed potential key witnesses.
Right, which would be Payne as well. So maybe there's
Yeah.
something there with Payne. I just found a connection.
Yeah.
When we looked back, the possible could be this Brady-Giglio with that whole sticker gate.
Yeah, because
And
I was kind of just left there. Like
Yeah.
the Brady-Giglio was kind of just, no one talked about it anymore.
Right.
So that makes sense that it would, go back to that.
So, I looked at, just some possible things. What is she trying to maybe do? Maybe she's trying to make the responding officers look shady or corrupt, poke some holes in their stories, interviews, how they collected evidence, how they walked the crime scene. They're probably going to try to make responding officers or agents look like they mishandled evidence. We heard a ton of that in the O.J. Simpson trial when these ISP detectives got on the stands. Oh my God, they had a field day with them. How did you collect the evidence? How did you bag the evidence? Was it with a glove? Was it without a glove? They beat the tar.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, my dad watched that trial though. I remember it being on. I was, I think, 10 or something at the time, but it was like we recorded it on the VHS. We were watching it. We were there for it, and they really did. They did a good job at hurting
Yeah, and then you
case.
You make responding officers look poorly trained, and that will help cast reasonable doubt.
Exactly.
So it's kind of what I came up with today. I ran this by you, like, oh wow, that's great, and now I don't have to get on the hook with everybody. I'm like, you never show anything that the pen's going to do.
Well, because if there's, I don't know, they have to have more. I'm thinking they have more. If they don't have more evidence, and this is all I have is like the DNA, the phone, then you have to look at the totality of all of it.
Yeah.
And you have to have somebody give it to you in a good setting, not on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like in the court of law, because I feel like with YouTube, like, even when you're just trying to give all the facts, like it's hard to get just all the facts. I think they're going to have a hard time, not hard time finding a jury, but maybe in that area they might have to like sequester them in. And that's what I think they're doing that for the Delphi case. They're, instead of moving the case out of the county because they need the money there, like let's be real, like they need the money in this little town like Carroll County. So they're going to bring in, and they do deserve to be there. Like it deserves to be there because this is what has happened. But they're bringing in like jurors, which I think that's what they should do for this case. If they don't move it, that's a small courtroom to try this big of a case.
It's tiny.
It's tiny.
I laugh, like I'm like, oh my God, that's like a third grade classroom.
Yeah, well, especially when people were like, all these YouTubers were like, we're gonna go there, and I'm like, good luck. I said, Brian Enton I said, I'm gonna super glue myself to Brian Enton, and I'll try to make it in there, and he's always first in line. They sent that other correspondent the other day, and he had like 10 people in front of him. I said, oh, not if Brian was here. I forget his name. That Capriello guy. He was good though. He did the live tweets. Like he was on it because they're letting you live tweet.
You were following that, right?
Yeah, because I didn't understand that. They didn't let you do that last time. They didn't let you live tweet. So that's like a new thing they're letting them do.
I think then the tag got lifted, and maybe they're allowing. I don't know.
Because they're not going to allow live cameras. I don't think. I'm just planning on doing lives at night.
He said yes, but he said if there's any shit going on, that's like with the whole like focusing on Kohberger the whole time.
Yeah, okay.
Gonna say, he'll address it as it goes on. So Mindy says they have more. She believes they have more. Kathy says definitely they're gonna try to cast reasonable doubt. Let's see.
Candy Bryant and his news daddy. He is. He just got married too, I believe. I
And
think he just
Angel
did.
says, if the sheath don't fit, you must acquit. Let's hope a guilty person doesn't get away with it. Yeah. The thing that I had to say the other day, and people were challenging me about this, I was like, it all of this, and they go, well, it's secondary transfer. It's secondary transfer. Well, how do you explain a knife sheath that's on a bed, and I don't know if it's under one of the victims or next to them. I think we're making the assumption that it's halfway under a comforter next to them, next to two dead people with your
Yeah.
DNA on it. It still doesn't explain that.
Someone said, well, maybe they were just sleeping in the bed with it. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I'm like, are you, like, I hear this stuff. I'm like, I'm like, can we rewind that again? And like, maybe they were sleeping with it. Like, yeah, like right beside their phone, knife sheath, phone. Oh, we're good to go. I'm like, no, that's not how that worked. Because at first, when I first read it, I was like, does it say it's under the comforter? Because I was kind of like confused. But
Right.
in my mind, when I read the PCA before any of this stuff came out, when I first got the probable cause, when I read it was underneath Maddie, was seen from the doorway, I just assumed it was halfway underneath of her. That's the visual I got, and so that kind of confirmed, that's what it was. It was in between the comforter, her, and that's fortunate in this case for us, for the state, for the people that want to see, justice be served, because I feel like they're on the right track. Especially after hearing the thing on ABC, that ABC podcast I played with Chief Fry, and like he was in tears talking about it. Like just hearing a grown man like that, and I like you could just hear it on the podcast. You couldn't even see him. Like he has college age kids that get that are like I didn't know that before, and I was like, oh man. I mean, it made me feel a whole different way, and I liked him to begin with, but it made me feel a whole different way about him. So
yeah. So let's do this. Let's take some questions. So if you have a question, type a Q just like this. And Diana's saying, when do you anticipate the trial will actually happen? Do you want to answer this one and then I'll answer it?
They say October, but with every trial, it seems like it gets pushed back. It gets pushed back a lot, especially with them putting the DP on the table. But he says that he wants a speedy trial as of right now. He's down for the speedy trial, so it has to start October. As far as I know, that's when it has to start. So, as of right now, I'd say October, but in my mind, in my heart, in my mind, I think it'll probably start next year, maybe spring, summer next year, maybe even fall. It might be like a full year before it like goes into a court, I feel like.
Laura, one of my moderators and has been my
Oh yeah, I've seen her on here before.
yeah. She said I believe the trial will still go for October as it did and not take that long for Lori, as long as Lori Vallow.
Because Lori's was long. Letitia Stauch's was like 5 years. Sarah Boone's going on like 3 or 4 years. Delphi's 5 years, but we just finally got him, so we can't really count that. But there's a lot. It just seems like there are years and years. I can't wait years for this one. I need this one to happen. We need to settle some things.
Yeah, I think I tend to believe that it's going to be sometime in the spring, just with all these motions that are popping up. I think, getting evidence turned over in a timely manner, waiting for reports still to process. There's still, you have to understand, I think a lot of people don't understand this too. There's still investigating going on in this case. So there's evidence that's going to be submitted at all times through this whole trial. Brooke says, do you think they will request a change of venue? I would think they would have to.
They probably. I just don't know if he want to give it up. Is it I wonder whose decision. Is that the judge? I mean, maybe he would. Maybe he'd be like, get him out of my courtroom. You know what I mean? Like, this is too much for me. Because the circus is going to show up. Like, either way. Coming whenever this court happens, it's going to be like Alec Murdaugh. Food vendors, people out there.
Crazy.
I mean, they probably should move it to Boise. But then Boise by the time this goes around, maybe everything will die down from Lori and it wouldn't be so bad. But then what if they switch it and they take the cameras out like they did in Boise for hers? I mean, I like Judge. I like where we're at right now. Yeah, but I do think they need a bigger venue.
I think they need to keep cameras in the courtroom so it gives total transparency and there's no bullshit about this case. And that's
exactly
really
especially even for Kohberger.
Yeah.
For him, really. For him. Because like I don't want people coming back and being like, oh, they rigged this whole thing up. They just sent an innocent man, to death row or something. Like I want us all to see and be like, okay, he
course.
did do this or he didn't do this, and we're all together going to be like, oh my gosh, like maybe there'll be something that comes out. But wasn't he supposed to provide an alibi? What's going on with
Yes.
that? He's just not doing that, because I know he was waiting until he found the alibi to give it. So I was
Yeah,
like, so I thought maybe that's why they were asking for more evidence, because I'm like,
Yeah.
they didn't find it yet. I mean, and all that evidence. But it's like, well, I mean, if they only have like a handful of labs to come back, they have to be like, what do you need? What do you want? Like, what
Yeah.
could be here? And I don't know. I wish I could have seen Bill Thompson's face. I wish I could have seen him more. I wish, because they
Let's
came
take
in, they were just very positive.
Let's take this question from Candy. So she's asking, this was from VV's question asked before. Tanya and Brian, your thoughts on how reliable the defense lack of DNA in the car is? Would they have that discovery now? I think, do you want me to answer this first, or you want to
Sure.
go?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can.
I think that they're probably still waiting for some reports on that. Maybe that's the evidence that they're still, they're waiting for those
Yeah.
reports to come back. And the thing that you have to keep in mind is the wording of that, and I could be completely wrong on this. It says lack of DNA, not no DNA.
Yeah, that's what I take from that too. Because a lot of people ran with no DNA. They were like, "There's no DNA," and I'm like, "That's not what it says." I think it could be chemical, or
Yeah.
and I think the car. I mean, I think that's probably gonna be one of the last things to come back, because it's one of the last search warrants they had. So
And he
you know
had
what I mean?
30 days to clean that car.
Yeah,
It's
and they said
30
they saw, or we heard that they said they saw him cleaning it.
There was report. You know what's crazy? I heard a report, and I'm not sure if this is 100% confirmed, but I read an article that the night or a couple nights before they actually went to arrest him in Pennsylvania, that FBI agents were actually like driving around the neighborhood, and they literally almost drove into him as he was walking over to his neighbor's trash can to dump
To dump the stuff.
stuff. Yeah, they
See,
almost ran him over.
They probably really wish they would have. I mean, sorry, not so mean. I know he's he's innocent till proven guilty. But
Yeah.
if I was one of those guys, I probably would be saying that under my breath. He got lucky, But
So many
and
instances-
why do you? I mean, I guess he was okay. If I would have got pulled over twice, okay, he got pulled over twice, and then I wouldn't have had enough the guts to do that, to go to my neighbors in the middle of the night. But maybe because it was 2 weeks after, he thought, shit, I'm cool, I just got off twice. They didn't get me. I'm here in my home where I feel safe. He's not
Yeah.
over in Washington. He's not
I
over in that mess.
Personally, I think that he took a lot of stuff from Pullman and drove it back to Pennsylvania to hide it. That's
Well,
what
they
I
had a big list for him,
Well,
of
and
stuff
the
that they
funny thing
took.
is, what was the first item? I think they have the knife, because
Knife.
the
I think
first
they do
item
too.
on it said knife.
Yeah, and that
Say
was
what
it.
type it is, but
But the other two that they specified, they were like, one was a pocket knife, one they gave the brand, and this one that just said knife.
and it's interesting that they talked about a gun too, and
Yeah.
we kind of speculated, like, and this is purely speculation.
Mhm.
Was there a gun involved? Maybe he used it to kind of that first, to subdue, and then the knife came. We don't know.
Yeah,
We weren't.
no, that could be. Well, I keep bringing the Delphi case up, but that's what happened there. He had a gun. That's what he got him to be quiet, and he ended up. I think that
Yeah.
we don't know yet. Did they release that part? I don't know if they released that part. I don't think they did, the way they died. But that's what
Oh, yeah.
they've been like tight-nipped about. But I think that it's going to be like something like that, like a stabbing or something like that. So that's
So
terrible.
Daniel's asking, Brian and Tanya, do they think they may have data from the car's black box? I think so, because it's just going to all depend on when they captured that data. So I'm not an expert in computers and cars, but I'm sure that they record telemetry, the speed, all that types of stuff. They may be
Yeah.
able to get that type of stuff. Maybe some type of location. I'm not sure. Maybe someone's a little bit more skilled at that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well, I
100%
know that. I guess it probably would depend on the car, if it has GPS or something or not. But I know
sure.
Alec Murdaugh's Tahoe, they had him like every break. Every time he took a break, they knew exactly where he was when he put a seatbelt on. I was like, wow. But I think it was a Tahoe or something. So it might have been because it was like expensive vehicle, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that they have some sort of where they could do that. And it's they're going to pull it, and it's going to show his car was moving.
Yeah.
And that's not going to look good if it shows that it's moving from his house. Like, because he could say, if I had an alibi and it was sleeping, because everyone's like, well, you can't just say he was sleeping, get out of jail. Yeah, you can, buddy. Because, I mean, like, things put you there. If
Yep.
they look, your phone will put you there. Your computer will put you there sometimes. Your iPad, my keys are on my, like, my AirPods are on my keys.
Yep.
So if I take my keys, my AirPods, my watch, I'm like, there's a lot of different, like, just your Google in your house, like things that you talk to, you don't even know that you do these things that they could. There's no way he's just silent as a mouse. This one night, maybe then why didn't the neighbors hear him this night? Maybe he
Right.
was loud all the other nights, you know?
Yeah, and it's funny because the lawyer, Peter Tragos, is a fantastic channel. I always pull his stuff up and
I do
reference
too.
it. But he said that, the thing that you have to start realizing now that we are where we are in life and how so much scientific things have changed and all these devices that we use. I mean, we essentially have a cell phone on us or in our hands at all times. So he said, going forward in cases, and we just saw this in the Murdoch case, you're going to see a lot more digital data that will convict people because it can place you there down to the feet or inches. And that's essentially what happened in Murdoch, because there was no blood on him. There was no gunshot residue. There was no, I don't think there was a murder weapon. There was nothing, but because they were able to geolocate where he was, his steps, and I think essentially the Snapchat video fucked him over pretty bad too.
Yeah, because he said he wasn't at Moselle.
Right. And things like that now, I mean, you don't need what you needed before to truly convict someone. So, I don't want to say like the old school days of investigating, because old school investigating is still
It's always
the
going to be there.
best way to get evidence and collect evidence. But, in this new digital age that we're in, it's going to become a huge part of cases now.
You can't get away with anything. You just can't. I mean, like
you always leave the digital trace.
There's always something there. Yeah. And it's like, even if you have like even credit cards, like if you think about that, just having your wallet on you or something, that could even probably have some sort of digital, like footprint that it could leave.
I'm curious, and I'm not a Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi expert, and I know this has come up a lot too, but I notice a lot of things like my Wi-Fi and Bluetooth is turned on my phone all the time. That's when I pull that up, it's showing me 50 devices that it's trying to connect with in my neighborhood.
That's
so
how mine is.
In my opinion, and I'm not sure, I'm not an expert on this, I would think that it's trying to ping those devices to try to connect to them. It would make sense.
Yeah. It is. And then it'll connect if it has like the password saved and it's able to, reconnect to that, like to that one particular area.
Device connect to anything in that neighborhood or try to ping anything in that, you're going to see all that stuff.
Well, they said they thought that it could have pinged or could have like connected to the speaker or something there.
Sure.
And I asked Vincent if it was possible, because I was like, this isn't possible. I was trying to make him tell me no. And he's like, no. He's like, maybe. He's like, it could maybe be possible, Tanya. And I'm like, really? And he's like, well, it wouldn't connect all the way through. He's like, unless he had their password. But he said a lot of college people don't even usually have a password. Like, like they just don't think of it. They don't care, because everyone comes in their house. They're giving out the password every 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, so they usually just leave it open, like open network or whatever, which is scary.
Some more questions. So Vanderhoof is asking, does bleach totally get rid of trace ep blood? I'm not an expert. I don't know.
I think that you can get like a presumptive, some sort of test off of it. I'm trying to think of like some sort of protein maybe in the blood could still be like traceable, but I don't think that you'll be able to extract actual DNA evidence from it. I think that would be killed.
Says experts state that there is no way that someone could clean a vehicle completely without burning it to the ground.
I believe that. Because like that's what gets me is like the brake pedal, the screws that go into the pedal, the bolts. Those little screws, those little things. But maybe he like got undressed, because they said that there was like a Walmart receipt, and a Dickies tag, and so I looked up Walmart Dickies, and they make them like smocks, like for guys, like that you would wear, like if you're working on a car.
Yeah,
if you look at them, it wouldn't hold a knife sheath either, because there's no belt loop for that. So that could be a reason why he didn't have it on his belt, which I think he just didn't know how to he didn't know how to carry a knife. So I think that's why it was in his hand.
Yeah, we think he used a onesie, kind of like Michael Myers. That's what we think he wore, something like that, like a onesie Dickie. like a
Mm-hmm.
mechanics,
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought too. Yeah,
but
we looked him up.
it's all
You
speculation. I
know,
mean, we
yeah.
don't know.
Because that
So,
would even go into a small book bag. Like if you had one of them little drawstring book bags, you can't
yep,
tell if like Dylan wouldn't be able to see that maybe on somebody. Like she wouldn't be able to be like, yeah, and he had a book bag. Like because they're so small, maybe it was in there. He had booties. I mean, if he's a
right.
criminal justice student, I was a criminal justice student, and I put myself. I'm like, would you think to do that? Would you think to? And I'm like, no, 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 no. But then again, I'm not a hardened criminal. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? But maybe, but he probably wrote all this out for months and months and months. Got everything.
yeah,
If I mean, because if that's all you're leaving is a knife sheath, we don't know that. I mean, there has to be more. But he did pretty good job. I mean, until the knife sheath was, told Maddie had to just put her body on there. Thanks, Maddie. We appreciate you for that.
seriously.
We appreciate it.
Faraday says, I wonder if BK used some type of crime lab cleaning resources he had access to, like neutralizers, if the lab or inventory was taken and if the lab has inventory of him taking an abundance of those types of products. That's a great point.
I
Yeah,
was
that's
wondering
really
that too,
cool.
Farah, because someone said that, and I was like, they should have a record of anything that goes in and out of the lab, but they might not even have a record of the cleaning stuff, though. Really, what if they did? What if he did use something like, I don't know what it would be called, but like this, stuff that you
Yeah,
put on like stains or like vomit
yeah,
or something, like I wonder if
like a
that would soak up, like a
yeah,
nuclear, like soak all that up.
yeah. I don't know.
But then you would think you would still get like part of the neutralizer. They would have to test it and have the chemical
Well, I'm
come up.
sure his car smelled a lot like bleach if he used bleach.
Yeah. I'm
So
thinking that's probably what it did. What it was they sprayed luminol, Blue Star, whatever. They couldn't get DNA profile or anything from it, but they could see something was there. So they're like, okay, this was definitely, you
hmm
know, cleaned, and this is a cleaning agent. And you can tell when someone wipes like this,
Yep,
like when they're cleaning, you'll
yep.
see like those movements and stuff. Like
Earmarks, yeah.
yeah. So they'll
Yeah.
be able to know if it was cleaning or if it was like splatter or what it was.
So Angela P says, do either of you guys think that this isn't his first murder? Why and why not? I'll let you take a stab at this one. No pun
I
intended. And that's just bad wording. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay.
It's
I do it all the
just,
time.
let me clear that up. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, guys. It's just human nature that we talk like that. I'm sorry. That was really,
No, I say stuff like I'm like, really, Tanya,
yeah,
you went there.
yeah. Sorry.
Um, do I think this was his first one? So I think that it was. I think he went. I think it was. Yeah. Why? Because based on because like they kind of have been searching where he's from, like Albrightsville, Police Monroe. They've been kind of looking in that area. That really doesn't say that 1,000% he didn't go to like Philadelphia into the city and do something. But I just maybe though. I mean, I don't know the way he walks into court. Maybe he has done this before. Now I'm thinking about the way like he's just like he's very alert, he looks confident almost to me. He did look tired last time. But when he comes in, he has like a confidence, I feel like, about him. But I think that he does it on purpose. It's like,
Well, it's
you know,
narcissistic.
yeah. And it's like he wants people to think that there's something that he knows.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
like
beat.
he knows something that we don't know. Yeah. And I guess he was known to be like that in school, I guess. He wanted to be the smartest
And
person. That's what we
if
heard
you
from
want to
his
look at Bundy,
friends.
that's how Bundy carried himself too in the courtroom. It was very narcissistic, very, very
Oh
narcissistic.
yeah.
Faraday says, I think they use chloroform to subdue, quite possibly, and a toxicology report would definitely
Yeah.
reveal that. Terry Dean says, I think they have the knife too. Number one on the list in PA. It's quite possible. Giovanna says, under the comfort of Maddie. Yep. Daniel saying, thanks for answering her question.
It's
Detective John said that about the knife. So smart. Let's see. Any more questions? If you want a question, throw a cue up there, and then drop your question there. We'll try to answer as much as we can. Nicole Marie says, "Oh wow, look at you, go
look at
babe,
that. Oh, hey,
collabing."
Nicole. She's
Shizoo. Hey, welcome into the chat.
she's awesome.
And then
People are finding me.
Peter is being called a hunky beast. Peter Tragos. He's a good-looking man. He is I'm very secure in my masculinity, but he's a very handsome man. Yes,
I was talking to Vincent about him last night. I said if I was his wife though, I would just mess up his hair every time. Because I'm just so bad. I'm like, my dad used to like do that with his hair, like comb it back. and I would always just like do this and mess it with it, and he used to hate that. And like so, I think it's the hair for me. He has nice hair.
Yeah,
I
I
found him.
noticed. It's funny because we've been watching him a while. I've noticed he's getting a little gray in his beard now. He's getting a little gray. I'm sure all the ladies have noticed that too. But his gray is
Yeah.
starting to come through a little bit. Chosen
Yeah.
Rosen says he planned his escape too. Closed weapon shoes wrapped in a shower curtain.
Yeah, I
Brooklyn
mean, where's
says-
the shower curtain?
Yeah, it's a little
That's weird.
Yeah,
No one takes a bath every time.
yeah.
No one ain't got time for
It
that.
was funny you said that because I said that maybe he took baths all the time.
Every night. Because he was a clean guy. I mean, he was an OCD guy. So he took baths like every day at least. So he had to have taken showers. He could go sit there in a bath. There's no way because you're not going to sit there in your own filth if you're OCD. You know what I mean? Like baths, like, or just like, I don't know. Normally you're just like sitting in it. Like, yeah, like showers are just, I'm OCD. I haven't taken a bath in years. It's been probably 10 years, 15 years.
You would present your alibi before thinking and putting together a defense strategy. Yeah. Let's see if we have more questions. If you all have questions, type a Q and then your question we love questions. Let's. So Laura's saying, we can't forget that Steve Gonzalez is an IT guy and probably had a say in being password protected. Yeah, I believe so too. Probably, yeah. I think that, and I still think this, and I'm not sure if this has been cleared up, but I think that, there was a lot of questions about Steve or Christy mirroring the phone of Kaylee. I know we've heard about that. And then she, I think, cleared that up and said that she didn't. So she's gone back and forth on that, but maybe that's just to, kind of quiet the investigation and not give too much.
I know they had access to her records because like she was on the same phone plan as them. So that's why they could get into her phone and stuff. But I don't think they had her physical phone. That's what.
No, I mean, at least download off the cloud her information.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they would be able to have access to that.
Yeah. I mean, well, because like someone was talking about Steve and how he said like one of the interviews he said after he heard the news, like maybe it was Christy or Steve, one of them. They said they went straight to the TV and started looking on the TV, and that's where they saw the news. But we were like, so whoever was talking about it made a good point. They were like, it wouldn't have been on the news then. It would have had to been social media they're thinking of. Like they ran to their computer, just in their mind, this is like a TV for us. Do you know what I mean? Or iPad is like a TV. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. And so I think that they did pull some stuff as soon as they found.
Yeah. I mean, in law enforcement downloaded phones right away too. Helen were downloaded right away.
Yeah, they were taking them and.
Yeah. Nancy says, I think his dad knew in his heart that in his gut, BK from the start was from the get-go. Diane says, why would he use bleach? He studied for years, other chemicals, sneaky chemicals. Yeah, it could be true. Absolutely. We don't know.
Bleach is just easier to get. Maybe. I don't know.
So the university said he did not have access to the crime lab. Okay.
Probably had to have special keys maybe to do that.
A lot of people talking about the blood evidence. So basically, if there was ever a trace of blood in there, there still had to be traces regardless. I would think so. Because you're not going to get every single
I would think.
Yeah. A lot of blood stuff tonight. I think you can still tell if the chemical was used to clean. I don't know. I thought I saw another question.
I want to do an experiment. I want to do, I'm going to make a mess doing it, but I want to try to see how far I can walk because I have like a pretty long apartment. It's like 1,200, 1,300, like all the way from this back wall to that front.
Sure.
Like it's a long apartment. It's not like, so it's like, so yeah, it's 1,200 square feet. So I think that'd be like, I don't know, 1,200 steps or something. I don't know what that means, but if I could walk, I was going to do like some sort of experiment to see if, if you were standing in a pool of like, blood, if you could walk, how far you could walk where it would stop showing on your shoe. Because I think that that house is pretty, it's not like huge, but it has a lot of walking spaces, like you walk a lot. I feel like if you were to shut the door and to walk out, I'm gonna have to do that experiment on that. I just need to figure out what to use.
I did a timing experiment once to show, like, the speculation was it was like around 9 minutes, and I went through a car wash and just kind of talked and started a timer, and about 9 minutes is about what it takes to wash your car through a electronic car wash. It's
Oh wow,
it's not a lot of time. I personally
pretty
think,
fast.
yeah, I personally think he had a lot more time inside the house. I think he
Well,
was,
because I had it at 16 minutes, I
yeah,
think
I had it.
404 to 425 or something.
Yeah, I
And I
think
mean,
it's, yeah,
if you get it right out, I don't under I would have to be psyching myself up for probably the rest of my life. You know, I couldn't do it, but you would think, but maybe he was just like pulled in, was like just it's now or never. You know what I mean? And he just was ready to go with it.
yeah.
16 minutes, 4 minutes. That's a long time if you think about it. One person, 4 minutes.
So Danielle says, Brian and Tanya, do either of you think he could possibly beat the charges? I think this. I think that if his team presents a very good case
Hmm.
to produce an alibi, and you have to think it's not on the defense, it's on the prosecution to prove that he
Yeah.
did this. But
Hmm.
if they can cut enough holes in this investigation and in these charges, then I think he has a very good chance of beating the case. It's just going to depend on his lawyers, the way and the
Hmm.
angles that they look at the evidence and try to cut through the evidence and show that
Yeah.
it doesn't pertain and have any connection to Bryan Kohberger. On the other hand, I still think the prosecution has a lot more under
Hmm.
their hat that we
Yeah.
haven't seen yet.
Yeah, me too. And I think that I think the officers did a really good job in this case. A lot of people are giving them like, they're like, you know, they like don't trust them and all this stuff. And I'm like, they've given us no reason to not trust them. Like
Mhm.
they called in, they went in, as soon as they went into the scene, they backed out. They called Idaho State,
Right.
FBI right away. They were like, nope, this is way beyond our grasp. Um, you know, they weren't like stubborn about it or anything where they didn't call, they didn't say they needed help. They arrested the guy within 6, 7 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's a long time, but it's not that long at all when you think about it. You know, I mean, if they really had what they had to work with, they were working pretty fast, I think. They were trying, you know, they were trying to get the person off the streets. And if you're looking at surveillance and doing all that stuff, it's just, I think they did a good job.
So Summer is saying that the telematics show your doors open and closed, park neutral,
Mm-hmm.
drive lights on, off position. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we'll show
Yeah.
that. Let's see if we
So
have
it'll
any
tell
more.
like everything. Actually, Summer went to Moselle for me. She lives in South Carolina. She went over there to Moselle before like the trial. I think it was before or right when the trial started. They didn't have it marked off. She went right back there.
Oh,
It was
really?
like, yeah, like she took pictures of the whole property. I was like, where are you? How are you even there? Like, look where I'm at right now. Click. I'm like, are those the Staples? Where are you at? Back out of there. Don't leave any
Crazy.
footprints.
Brooke is asking, she has a question. Do you think Brian thought he was too smart to get caught? He has a reputation of being cocky and arrogant.
I think that he did. I think he was cocky and arrogant. If this was him, because I think that he thought he wasn't really seen. He wasn't from the area technically. He was from Pennsylvania. You know, I just think like in his mind that gave him made him more cocky. Like he had that, I don't know, like almost like a shield. He could shield himself up almost like in a way where he could be like, that's going on over there. I'm over here.
Yeah.
But I think that he thought did take too many classes to get caught. I mean, and he did have a really good education. They have like a whole house set up in Pennsylvania for murder mock scenes. Like they go in there and they like solve the crimes. That's, I mean, like, I think he thought I think he thinks he's still too smart. Because a lot of the paperwork will say Bryan Kohberger says, like, or thinks, like, you'll see that, like, he wants. And I'm like,
It's a lot of
you want?
control. That's a lot of control.
I've
Yeah.
noticed that. They want to give him like a little bit of info. Let him in there.
So Lana was asking, Brian and Tanya, what is your favorite
Oh
candy?
my God. What are you doing? You know I like the sparkle ones. They came in my chat one night because I was on DTS. I did like a DTS live or something. I was so mad because they did something on their live. And I forget. But I said something about it in the chat and I was like, well, I like glazed donuts. And so they like came back and they were like, I'm a glazed donut. And then they had like sprinkles or something. I was like, oh my God. It was so funny.
Personally,
It
my
was so funny.
favorite, I love chocolate, the chocolate donut with coconut on it. I love those was so
I'm
good.
a glazed donut person,
Glazed donut.
but
And
I
I think
only
that's
like
a
them from my small
glazed.
town.
That is a glazed donut.
That's a glazed donut.
Glazed.
That's what they say all the time. They're like, I'm just a donut. Just a donut.
Brooks asking, do you think the trash had more to do with his OCD than him trying to hide evidence, playing defense, devil's advocate? No.
Mm-mm. I've been OCD for my whole life,
No.
and my brother and my mom, my grandmother. What you would do is you'd buy like a recycling bin, and you'd have plastic, paper, you know, trash or whatever. You would never put your hands back into a dirty waste or receptacle, even with gloves. Like you, whatever's in there is gone. Like it's gone. If you need something, someone else is getting it. Like you're like, yeah, I think that he was, I don't know what he was bagging. Like, I don't know if it, I mean, I guess it was his garbage, but I don't know why. Maybe he just didn't have big Ziploc bags. That's why there were so many small bags. But I don't know why he was separating it like he was. And I'm also wondering if the water bottles they found in his car were the water that he might have been drinking, because it says water bottles. It could just be like a couple, but it could be all the water he was drinking at his parents' house, throwing them out there instead of putting them in the trash
Yep.
or something.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
So Faraday says, do you think the perp shut and locked the bathroom doors to make it take longer for the survivors to understand and realize what happened inside the bedrooms? I don't know. I mean, there's really no indication of that.
There's not. In a way I do, in a way I don't, just because like the lack of, like the whole, 8 hours and stuff, and like all the, that's what I mean. But the time to do that, I don't. But then I mean, because they found Xana on the floor. Like I don't think doesn't her door open to where he wouldn't be able to close that door with her right there. I don't
Right.
think it closes that way. Actually, I have that up. What way does her door close? No, I don't think I don't think that you'd really be able to close the door. I don't know
Her
which way it
door
is. 'Cause I
opened
think you'd,
in.
yeah, because I think you'd almost like hit her. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly where she was located, but
Right.
it looks almost like the inside of the doorway. So, and I think that's what it says in the PCA too. I have to read that again. I have like 4 copies of it above my head. Yeah.
Mary's asking, chances of an accomplice, say a driver, runs to secluded area, meets the driver, chases. No.
I'm gonna grab a
Nope.
drink. Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think he had any help.
I
If
don't
he
think
left his DNA, then somebody else definitely would have,
Right.
in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Vanderhoop says, anyone know if they checked the drains in the house for traces of blood?
Mm,
I think they were tested in his apartment, but I don't think in the 1122 King Road.
I would say that they did. I know that they did take the bowls and plates out of the sink. It was really weird because I was on a live the other night and I didn't know that, but the table that's in the kitchen, there's a picture of it with nothing on it. And there's like bowls and there's cups in the sink. And then there's another picture and I was like, is that the same table? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, well, why is all that stuff on the table? Like, that's a crime scene. And they said, oh, those are the bowls from the sink. And they showed me a picture of it. And I was like, those are the same bowls. It was the same exact stuff that was, even the soap dispenser that was by the drain by the sink, and
Yep.
the cup that Xana had and the food bag, it was all placed on their kitchen table. So I think that they did see something, or they were trying to get something out of the drains or something around that area, because they did take everything out of the sink.
Right.
And they just placed it on the table, which I thought was kind of odd. So maybe the defense is going to go after something like that too.
Sure. Yeah, we answered this summer. She's like, question, the vehicle's telematics show if your door's open, park neutral, drive it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We answered you, Summer.
So VV is asking, why do you think there's such an obsession? Unfortunately, there are many horrific crimes. This is different. My first true crime online participation.
There's just some that I don't know.
I think this just has a lot of elements to it. One, it's the first that I've ever heard of just 4 very young people in a very town or a place that we never hear of.
Yeah.
We never really hear of the University of Idaho.
No.
I mean, I think that the media really jumped on this very quickly to catch this person or persons that did it. It was very public. It was in the
Yeah.
news every single day.
Yeah.
And then it just started catching the attention. And then,
Yeah, it
you
did.
see these things, they get viral, and they just go across the YouTube platforms, Twitter, everybody's talking about it. I mean, I heard people that, like yourself, Vivi, that had never followed any story or murder in their entire life.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about this everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And it just became that case. It just
We
became that.
have those big cases too. Like even on YouTube, you'll see them. Like you'll have some cases that don't get as much attention, but then you'll have some cases that do. And I mean, it kind of sucks. For the
let's
case, the other cases, but
let's face it too. It's for college students. It's a
is.
college town. There's a lot of activity, and it's a shame because there are other cases out there that don't. And I don't want to down this case at all, but it's a shame that there are other cases out there that should get this much attention as well, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
There was a case in Massachusetts the other day from my home state that 3 elderly, a couple in their 80s and a lady that was 97 years old, that were murdered in their house. They were on their way to church. A neighbor broke into their house and killed these 3 individuals, and they were literally getting ready to go to church to celebrate their 50th year wedding anniversary.
That's heartbreaking.
And we didn't hear anything about it. And
that should have been on the news.
Right. And the thing is it was excuse me. and there was no suspect for at least 48 hours. This should have got national attention.
Yeah.
And we heard nothing of it.
Especially when they're that old.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Lord have mercy. That's so sad. That was just the one that happened in Ohio, the Chad Doberman case. I mean, my videos do a quarter of what my Idaho do. And I'm like, I'm in the state, y'all. I'm an hour from there. I can go down there. We can do this. Like, because it's a big case. I mean, he shot his kids in his front yard and his girlfriend or wife. I mean, and they wrote me today that they're really good about the FOIA request. They wrote me today. They said they were going to give me some more information. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that was easy and nice.
There's I'm trying to think the case that I was just following, and unfortunately I got wrapped back up into Idaho again. It slipped my mind, but there was a case that I was following that literally just got scrubbed off. It was the house. What was it? The house where all those kids were killed.
The Henrietta murders. Henrietta.
Yes.
Where the girls went on the slumber party, went to the sleepover.
Yes. With the CP stuff that was going on. Yeah,
well, I had a girl that lives there down there. She wanted to come up and panel with me. She's really awesome in the chat, and I wanted to do a live, but I'm like, it just isn't picking up the traction. It's like, come on, guys.
But, and when they went in and it was inside that house, what was going on? There's computers.
Horrifying.
And the thing that I was saying on my live, and I was freaking out about this, I'm like, this case is not just contained to that house. If this individual is broadcasting the CP stuff that was going on in that house, there are more people that are involved in this crime. Find their IP addresses, track these people down. They should be arrested and prosecuted. I mean, and you literally heard about it for like a week, and that was it.
That was it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I know. I was like, what happened with this? Like, because they came out with the autopsies, but they really didn't say much about them. Like, they did, but they didn't. Like, and I think that was like the last thing I really heard about it. Yeah, I think that was the last time. So yeah, it's probably because
Jesse McFadden.
Oh yeah, Jesse McFadden. Yeah, sorry, I said Henrietta. Yeah, I don't like him. I don't like him. That guy is such a coward.
That's what I'm saying. You had videos of the parents going in and finding
the cell phones. He found his daughter's cell phone in the cabinet.
Yeah.
Like, what the?
And I'm going to tell you.
I couldn't imagine.
There are devices to chain people to the walls. This is not the only person that was involved in this. There were people probably going in and out of that house doing awful things to these kids. And then he had multiple computers in there and with webcams. I mean, they were broadcasting shit.
Yeah.
It's like, where are those people? Why are they not being arrested? And then when the parents go in and look at the police officer there, and they're like, well, what are you going to do about this? And he's like, well, what else is there left to do?
Yeah.
What the fuck,
Yeah.
man? Like
Yeah, like we're cool. We didn't even go in the house. What are they gonna do? Just
that was very traumatic. I did follow a
yeah,
little bit of that. I lost myself on stream a couple of times. I mean, it brought me to tears. It was so bad
yeah,
reading articles, and like I had to take a step back and say and that's probably why the name just went out of my brain.
yeah.
But it is definitely something that I want to pick back up and get on because it's a very
Mm-hmm.
important case because it involves children and
Yeah.
it's
And that's how I feel about this, like, the Chad Doberman case. I mean, those little boys,
yeah
3, 4, and 7, they weren't doing anything but being boys. Like, I mean, that's heartbreaking. And then he's just like sitting there when the cops come up, like, "What's up, guys? Don't mess with my dog. He won't mess with you." I mean, and I could hear the cop screaming to the wife, like, "Get back inside," or something like that. He's like screaming to her. And in my mind, I was thinking, does she have a gun or something right now? Because the way
yeah
he yells at her, like, he's like means it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, she might have I mean, because she was trying to protect her son when he shot her in the hand. And it was they said it was like a rifle too, so I don't know how bad of
right
an
he had the
injury that
rifle
would
right
be.
there on the front lawn. He had the
Yeah,
rifle right there on the front lawn. Yeah.
yeah.
So Pamela says there's got to be something in that car, hair, fiber, blood. I agree. And then Vivi
Mm-hmm.
says she's not afraid. She's I believe it's because it's very attractive. It is the
Yeah.
Idaho 4 case is a very
Mm-hmm.
attractive case. That's why
And
people continue to go back to it.
the crazy thing is, there was another
No,
shooting that day at another college university in Virginia. It was they were going to I couldn't tell you the whole story now, but they were going to some sort of sporting event, and one of the students opened fire and killed like 3 of the other students, and no, it didn't even hit like the nightly news. I don't think. I think it hit like the lunch, like the afternoon news, and then by evening, Idaho had done taken over the masses, and it was like. Because I guess they caught him. It was just like that was bye. We're done with that. It was like I was like,
and I think a
man.
lot of it too is you had Steve speaking out a lot in the very
Mm-hmm.
beginning. Which
That's what it was. Yeah.
listen, if my daughter was killed the way that she was, I
Yeah.
would be speaking out just as much as him. And that's what
Yeah.
really bothered me, where people were like, "Oh, he needs to shut up," and I'm like, "No, he
Mm-mm.
really doesn't. He really
No.
doesn't.
He
He
has
needs
every
to.
right.
He has every damn right to say what he's
Mm-hmm.
saying right now."
This is the United States.
And I would do the same thing for my daughter as well
Yeah.
too, because you
I
need to
mean,
keep this to the front line in the media. Get your story out there and find this person that did that. So
yeah. Well, I think a lot of the timeline was set up because of him and Olivia and their
yeah,
work. I mean, they had to keep going back and saying, "You need to correct this." And actually, if you think about it, they did with remember the timeline? So maybe the officers, they were just, I mean, they were super busy. Maybe they were really busy. They didn't think about going and changing those little things like the timeline went, I think it was like 156 to 158 or something. They arrived home. It was shortened, but it was only like a couple minutes, it seemed like. But just like the Hyundai Elantra, maybe that's why they didn't go back and put the extra years in, because they kind of already knew what car they were looking for. They didn't need more people calling in there. They already had,
right.
so many
And
tips
the thing
coming
is
in.
too, a lot of people make the mistake is that excuse me, that when the PCA came out, they're like, oh, this is all they have on it. A PCA
Mm-mm.
is what it is. It's a probable cause
Yeah.
affidavit. It's not going to have every single fact inside of it.
No.
And again, I think there's going to be a lot more that comes
Yeah, and a
out.
lot of times they keep the key things out because they want to be able to, if the defendant says, "Yeah, I'm guilty," they want to be able to prove that he's guilty. Like, say the knife was at the crime scene.
Right.
They left that part out because he's going to say, "Well, I left the knife there. That's why it's me." Like he could prove that
Right.
it's him. Like a lot of times they do keep things out so that when they do find someone, if they do make a deal, they can corroborate their story in a
Right.
way.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're getting up on about an hour and a half. Maybe we'll shut this one down. Hang on real
Yeah.
quick. I'm going to pull this up. I would like to point out that Steve feels like he lost 2 daughters. You can tell he really loved Maddie. Steve actually has her ashes. I imagine Kaylee and Maddie will always be close. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's so sad. Maddie's
Absolutely.
dad brings me to tears seeing him.
Yeah.
And Maddie's boyfriend.
Steve really gets to me because if I was ever a father, I think that's. I mean, I don't know Steve personally. I couldn't tell you
No,
one
he's a
thing
little
about
pit bull, but
we
I
know
like
about him. Yeah, what we know about him in the media and what he's shown us is his brought us into his life, and we've gotten to know him. I think I would be kind of like a Steve dad if I was ever a father.
He has love for his family. They have a huge family, and they're missing one, And I mean, they're missing 2. They're missing Maddie. I mean, they said in one of their interviews, Maddie never came over. Maddie was never allowed to just come over and come in the house and hang out. It was always Maddie's parents were dropping her
Right.
off and coming in. And I was,
Right.
it just makes me laugh because, sometimes you don't have those like awkward conversations like, hey, and it just kind of made me like, it makes me giggle thinking back to that, like them bringing Maddie over and just making sure she was okay. So I feel for all the families involved, but the ones that don't have, another kid, especially, with Maddie being only a child, it's more devastating to me because it's like, I mean, it's not any more horrible, but it's just like they lost their one and only, and I'm glad that the Gonzalez's have such a big family to help them stay so strong.
Right.
Because Steve looks good. He looks like he's been working out. He's
Ready
got
to
a
go.
full Manchu. He's ready for trial.
Yeah,
I am
he's ready.
down. I'm liking the Steve. I'm liking the new Steve. And he's more
Yes.
calm. He's like watching what he says a little more.
Stage of grieving now.
Yeah.
You know?
He's out of the anger a little more.
The thing that I want to keep in mind is, when Steve and the Gonzalez family get a lot of shit in these families, and they need to shut their mouth, and no, they really don't. And the thing
No.
is that, and I always remind people of this, is that our lives here, our lives here on YouTube and our regular lives and the people in the chat, our lives go on. We have no personal connection to these victims at all. We have what we're reporting, we have what we're talking about, but as far as that personal level of actually knowing them, we don't have that personal connection. So our lives go on. Those families, the friends, that community, they have stopped. It stops, and they'll be stuck in time for the rest of their lives. And this, this will weigh on them. And things like this, I mean, you don't know. The Gonzalez family, where I think they are very, very strong and they'll make it through this, with, as best as they can. But a lot of things like this break up marriages too, because
that's
a
what
lot
I've
of
said
victim
before.
guilt. Yeah.
Yep, and that's what I was like. I'm surprised that they look stronger than ever. They look like they're really
They
holding
need
on to
each
each other, and the Chapins as well.
Yeah.
That's
They
all
need
you can
each
really do. I mean, that's all you can do. It's sad.
Kelly's asking, she probably never heard this, and maybe we can answer this and we'll close it up here. So she's asking, if you want to, Tanya, do we know what an incel means?
So it's like incelibate. So basically, it's like a guy that can't really get a woman. And let me know if I'm saying anything wrong. I think it's a guy that can't really get a female, like to think of him as like sexually, and so he has like hatred for all women in general, something like along those lines.
That's what an incel is.
Elliot Rogers was like the first known. He wants to be called the first known incel, but I think that it was actually created by a woman. Like the whole incel group was actually created by a woman, like way back in the day. Stop taking this stuff from us women. We were incels first.
I wanted to announce to everybody, I actually passed 1 million views on YouTube the other day, so that's pretty
awesome.
Cool. Pretty cool.
Oh, I always forget to look on there.
And I'm at 72. Everybody's asking how far. I'm at
awesome.
7226 as my sub count. You're close to 10,000.
I'm getting there. I'm looking right now. I am 9393. So we're
That's
moving.
awesome.
We're moving that direction. I know.
A month to a month and a half, you're going to be there.
I think I'll be there. Yeah. I think
So
we
let's
set some goals and do them. We crush them.
Right. Let's get Titanium to 10,000. Let's get this channel to 10,000. Let's squash the conspiracy channels out. Let's stick to the facts. If you all want factual content, you guys can come over and hang out on our channels. I want to thank Tanya. This has been an awesome hour and a half that we've hung out. And believe me,
this was nice.
Let's do this again, but let me come over on your channel and hang out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, anytime.
Whenever you want, reach out. We'll do something. And we'll
good.
get a show together. I'll come chill. This was a really, really good time. Real quick, I just want to recognize Summer gifted out a membership, and Pamela has become a new member of the channel.
That's so nice.
And I have members only content. You can find that on my landing page and go over and check out that. I try to do one video a week. It's kind of like behind the scenes and let everybody know what's coming up. So
that's awesome.
Do you have any upcoming streams planned or any things that you want to plug on your channels, your Twitter, anything like that?
Well, you can always follow me on Twitter. I think I do tweet a lot. Like I try to tweet out things. It's easier, not better. It's easier than, getting out the information. If you want something like, minute by minute, it's at titanium_built. I think that's all my names on all platforms. And tomorrow I do have a live schedule or planned. It's going to be a morning live, I think. I'm
Cool.
going to do a morning one over the Delphi because I'm still going through all the paperwork. But he confessed pretty much to his wife, so
Yeah.
still come to the live. The end. I'm just kidding. That's not the whole live. The end. That was all the story. No, I have to look through a lot of the paperwork, but I think it's going to be pretty good live. So
Cool. Well, go over, check out Titanium Built.
Yeah,
She's
thank you so
amazing.
much.
We've been trying to do this for a while, and I really enjoyed my time. Next time you see me, I don't know, maybe I'll be over on her channel. I'll be here. I don't really have a live plan. I think if I do one, it would probably be Saturday night. Come over, hang on the channel. I'll get something together here. Maybe something drops in Idaho, or I'll move on to another case for a bit.
Yeah,
But we'll be
something will happen.
yeah, we'll be chilling. I want to recognize Pamela just for this $5 super chat. Thank you so
So
much,
sweet.
Pamela. And
That's so nice.
that's it. Cool.
All right.
Good time.
All righty. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're going to hit the outro. So thank you so much
Okay.
for watching this episode of Let's Talk Live. This is episode 16, and that's Titanium Built. Go over and check out our
Okay.
YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.